danger.
Greetings, travellers, and welcome to episode 123 of the Innsmouth Book Club. As you can see, we have brought you directly here to the library because we're going to be delving into a dusty old tome today. We're going to be examining the work of one of the lesser-known members of the Lovecraft Circle. I'm one of your hosts, Tim Mendes.
And I'm now the one, Rob Poyton. Yes, and this author, Richard F. Searight, is probably not that familiar a name to the casual delver into the mythos. But I think he had around 7 stories published in Weird Tales and something.
Yeah, something like along those lines. And then his son sort of carried on after and finished a bunch of his stuff. There was quite a lot of stuff he left unfinished when he died. So yeah, there's quite a lot of his stuff floating around out there. But yeah, a lot of people, whenever I mention him to people are like, "Who?"
Yes, and I was confused. Well, I'm easily confused anyway. I mean, that goes without saying. But I was confused by Searight or Seabright. Because on one website I was looking at, it was Seabright. But I'm taking the published word as the final on that. So
yes,
definitely Searight.
It is indeed, yes. Yeah, he also corresponded with Lovecraft a lot. There's actually a collection of his letters, I believe. I think it's another one of the hippocampus jobs, but I've not been able to track it down as yet. But it is something I'm going to look into. But yeah, letters from Howard Phillips Lovecraft to Richard Franklin Searight, I believe it's called. I don't know if there's another title to it, but there you go.
Very nice, very nice. However, before we go a delving and a digging, just a couple of news items. Just to remind you again, September the 19th in Oddly Moist Bedford is the home of this year's Innsmouth Literary Festival. Of course, we've already had our guests of honour announced, Les Edwards and Stephen Jones, but we're starting to get more of our guest authors confirming now, including David Hambling, CJ Hooper, Simon Bleakin, Alexandra Beaumont, and many others. So we look forward to seeing them and you there. Tickets are available via the Innsmouth Gold website, and there'll be a page going up on Eventbrite very soon as well.
Yes, and the latest episode of the Monster in My Bed podcast, the podcast I do, the other podcast I do with Zoe Burgess, all about monster erotica and romance in movies, has just gone up. And this episode, where we went all the way back to 1946 to the first ever adaptation of Beauty and the Beast. La Belle et la Bête.
Nice, 1946.
Has some really good effects in it for its time, because the director Jean Cocteau is like a big name in surrealist films, and oh man, some of the effects he's done in it, it's like they'd look good if you did them now, right? In fact, they probably look better than a lot of CGI.
Well, we were talking about this recently on Strange Shadows, weren't we, with the Dark Eidolon. How Smith in his day said, why are no filmmakers picking this up? Because they could put some great effects into this. And that was what, in the 30s. And yeah, we mentioned a couple of films then that look amazing for the time and for now as well. And as we, repeatedly say, that real life effect has a certain weight and substance to it that CGI just can't match, can it?
Yeah, no, totally agree. Yeah.
So, Richard F. Searight, there's not a lot known about him. He was born in June 1902 and passed away in September 1975, one of the Lovecraft Circle, as we mentioned, though not as well known as the more prolific writers such as Bloch or Derleth. He wrote 7 stories, mostly for Weird Tales, and 11 poems for the pulps. And the general consensus is that he actually thought of himself more as a poet than an author. So I'm going to see if I can track down some of those poems as well, because we do like a bit of poetry, don't we?
We do. Well, I can help you with that in a bit when I get to the publication history. I'll be helping you out with that straight off.
Lovely, lovely. And actually, I have to say, one of my first thoughts with this and poetry was Eltdown rhymes with meltdown. I'll just leave that out there.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Searight wrote a few stories set in the Cthulhu mythos. He was the creator of the ancient mystic writings known as the Eltdown Shards, which were later used by Lovecraft himself in The Challenge from Beyond, although with a divergent history, which is, well, we can read HPL's own words on that as well in a moment.
Well, we'll also get into that as well, because he also used it in The Shadow Out of Time and the Diary of Alonzo Typer.
And as you mentioned earlier, Richard was the father of the late Franklin Searight, who wrote a significantly larger proportion of mythos pieces than his father and attempted to complete some of the elder Searight's unfinished works. And as far as anyone knows, this is only the example of a sort of generational mythos lineage, father to son, which is quite nice, isn't it? I like that.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. Yeah, because I'll talk about a little bit about that in a moment as well. Too. But yeah, it's nice that here, son, here's your birthright.
Yeah, imagine. I guess the only parallel I can think of is Christopher Tolkien, who took on the Herculean task of sorting through his father's papers. And if you've ever seen Tolkien's handwriting, you'll understand what an undertaking that was.
Oh, is it a scroll?
Oh, it's a spider in ink.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And it's a little bit like, you see some of those Lovecraft pages of his writings where you go across, but then you go down the side as well, because, paper's a bit scarce probably, or you just got to get it out. So, yeah, incredibly dense pages of scribbly text.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that would be a hell of an undertaking, wouldn't it? Bloody hell. Be like me trying to decipher my partner's notebook.
Ah.
She doesn't so much write in letters as hieroglyphs.
Nice.
Righty-ho, let's have a quick look at the publication history then. Right, The Warder of Knowledge, today's story, was written in 1935 before being lost for half a century, something like that. Yeah, it didn't appear in print until 1992 when it was rediscovered by his son. And it was printed, it was snapped up as soon as it was rediscovered and printed in the Fedigan and Bremer anthology Tales from the Lovecraft Mythos, which was edited by Robert M. Price. Now, is that what you're going from today?
Yes, that's what I've got here. And I think this is one of those books that I had quite a while ago and then it disappeared.
Right.
But I managed to track down a copy off of, I think it was Abe Books or something like that, for about £6-7. So it's out there, and for once, it's reasonably priced, and it's a very good collection.
Nice. Yeah, I've got a copy of that somewhere. But I'm going from a collection that came out in 2016 from H. Harkson Productions. It was published with Franklin Searight, called Those Dreadful Eltdown Shards.
I love that name.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, let's drink the Eltdown Shards.
It's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? It's kind of done like the Chaosium cycle books.
Oh, yeah.
And they did like the Book of Ibon and the Necronomicon. It's kind of done like that. It's a similar kind of thing. So it's got all of Richard Searight's stories containing the Eltdown Shards, like the Seal Casket, this story, The Warder of Knowledge, and then the Challenge from Beyond is in there in full, which is quite nice to have, because often you get the bits, don't you, in each writer's thing. You'll get their portion of the round robin, but the full thing's in here. It's got the Diary of Alonzo Typer from H.P. Lovecraft and William Lumley, and The Shadow Out of Time. It's also got 4 posthumous collaborations between father and son. Yeah, which is they're really good stories, actually. So it's got The Coming of Uran Uton, The Horror from the Shards, The Mists of Death, and Admonition from the Past.
Nice. Excellent titles. The Mists of Death is excellent.
Yeah, it's a nice little collection. It's also got a nice little thing that I'm going to have a look at in a minute that Franklin did. The Fabricated History of the Eltdown Shards. So he's collected the history of this the tome of, collection of clay tablets, basically. So we'll get into that in a bit. But Warder of Knowledge was also published in a tome I'm holding here in my grubby mitts, which I actually bought. I think it wasn't last year. It was probably the year before at the Innsmouth Literary Festival from Brown Jenkin Books. It's a numbered edition, 71 of 100, and it's called The Cosmic Horror and Others, and it was published by J&J Publications. It's got some lovely cover art and illustrations by Alan Kozowski, which is very cool. But this is basically most of Richard Searight's work. So it's got a lot of the stories, and it's also got a lot of the poetry in here as well.
Ah, excellent, excellent.
So yeah, I don't know if there's ever been another print of this. If there hasn't, there should be, because it's a really nice little collection. There's some great stuff in here. And as I was saying before, it's a real shame that a lot of people don't really know Richard Searight's work, because it's definitely worth reading. There's some really good stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, going off of this story, it's what I call a good solid mythos story. This one, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Why I was saying about the illustrations in the book, when we get to the bit with when he gets grabbed by the tentacle, that's one of the illustrations. And I had to say it like that, sorry. Grabbed by the tentacle. Oh. Right, so yeah, before we get into the story, let's have a look at this fabricated history of the shards, because there's some cool stuff in here. Apparently, the Eltdown Shards was discovered in 1882 when Professor Newman Bennett and his team of excavators accidentally unearthed the clay shards on a farm in Sussex near Eltdown. That's not far from me. Yeah, they were found in a stratum identified as the Triassic period. And yeah, the furor created in the scientific world by this discovery lasted for months. The shards were hastily sent to the museum at a small Midwestern school called Boulogne College, situated near the Wisconsin town of Weston. I wonder if this was a nod to Mr. Derleth.
Ah, Wisconsin. Yeah, because I was trying to trace that, because as I said, because of course we always check the names in these stories, and Boulogne was, a fictitious place, but yeah, Wisconsin, that makes sense now.
Especially if you think Comte de Hurlet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? Eventually, these disturbing shards were decoded and found to mention, among other things, the planet Yith and the Great Race. Years later, they were transferred on loan from Boulogne College to the library at Miskatonic in Arkham. So there we have it. Description of the shards: they consist of 23 primeval slabs of iron-hard slate-coloured clay as adamantine as any known substance. All the sides are completely covered, except for approximately 1-inch margins around the edges, with a cryptic network of indented symmetrical characters considered astonishingly puzzling. They were apparently pressed into the clay when it was soft and fresh. Most of the tablets are chipped, and some are missing pieces, which is a plot point in the story we're going to be reading.
Yes, indeed it is. Yes, quite a very pertinent plot point, isn't it? Yeah.
They vary in size from the 5th shard, the smallest, an oblong piece about 4 by 8 inches, that tells at some length of the revolting habits of the fiendish Avaloth, to the 14th shard, the largest, a jagged triangular slab of about 20 inches wide. Okay, so it goes on now to say about the appearances of the Eltdown Shards. So I'm just going to list off a couple of things now. I've mentioned the Searight stories, and of course it appears in the Challenge from Beyond, the Diary of Alonso Typer, the Shadow Out of Time, the Coming of Aran Atun, the Horror from the Shards, the Sealed Casket, the Mists of Death, Seized by the Warder, which sounds painful, and Admonition from the Past. There we go. Yeah, and then it also goes on to mention people who have translated it and things like this. Now, I'm just going to read you this one paragraph here before we get into it. The work of Winter's Hall informs us that there dwelt on countless worlds a mighty order of giant worm-like beings, the spawn of Yekub, whose attainments surpassed anything within the range of terrestrial imagination. It tells also of the capability of those beings to transfer their minds between universes. They had mastered the art of interstellar travel early in their career and had peopled every inhabitable planet in their own galaxy, killing off the races they found. Winter's Hall recalled the dire and incredible tales of the fabled elder gods in the Book of Ibon, the frightful allusions in the Necronomicon regarding dread Cthulhu, the unspeakable practices of the Sarthogua cult, and the revolting habits of the fiendish Avaloth.
Nice.
Yeah, Fiendish Habits of Avaloth. That sounds like an album, doesn't it?
We're getting into that territory, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes, and as we mentioned, Lovecraft was a fan of this story. He wrote in a letter to Searight, November the 4th, 1935, "I like the story exceedingly and hope you will not let Farnsworth Wright's rejection discourage you." A familiar tale to anyone who listens to our Clark Ashton Smith podcast.
Oh, God.
The references to the Eltdown Shards are fascinating, but woe is me. I've given a lot of dope in that composite story, The Round Robin, The Challenge from Beyond, which conflicts directly with the true facts as here revealed. I also fear that I describe the shards in a conflicting way. Oh well, in sober truth, relatively few people will ever see the complete yarn anyhow.
How wrong he was.
Yes, yes. Little could he imagine that years later people would be poring over this stuff, whether for from a literary angle or for their role-playing games.
Yeah, or even in academic studies, you know. I mean,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But I think this just plays into the whole Lovecraft method of there is no canon.
Yeah.
We've got some names and we're back to that idea again. Having those inconsistencies actually makes it feel more real. Because look how many versions of the, the apostles and all the rest of it, and any religious text is so open to interpretation, depending on who's got the biggest beard and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah, exactly.
Now, straight away in the first paragraph of the story here, I thought there was something interesting that I actually missed on first reading, and I've only just picked up. So the story opens with this. The following record has been compiled from various sources, of which the most important are Dr. Whitney's elaborate journal and the remarkable psychic impressions received in Whitney's bedroom by Professor Turcoff of the University Psychology Department. So we've got that very Lovecraftian thing of we've found a manuscript, Diary of a Madman. And I was thinking this is the found footage of its day, isn't it, really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
So that's very academic. The guy's left a journal, is a scientist, is made notes of everything. But then we've got the psychic impressions of Professor Turcoff, who presumably has gone into the room and absorbed the ether and just built this narrative out of his impressions. That's quite odd for a Lovecraft story, isn't it, in a way?
It is. It kind of reminds me of, do you remember Poltergeist? When they get that little lady come in to read the house.
Yeah.
And she's going, "Oh, there was a terrible fate in this room." She had a great voice.
And there's the great Clinton Baptiste, who, if you go on YouTube and do a search for Clinton Baptiste, and he's got an excellent, I think it's like about a 30-40 minute sort of upload on there called Clinton Baptiste Psychic Hunt. I'll just leave it at that.
Nice.
It's very funny. Very funny.
Well, while we're on that, funny, we've got to mention Derek Acora.
Well, yeah,
that Liverpudlian fraud. but the best one about that was one of the most haunted things, right? And apparently one of the ghosts was a woman called Mary, and her husband Richard she couldn't find him, and he went into one of his possessions, and just type in Derek Acora, Mary loves dick. Me and my mate sampled it. But in a song, Mary loves dick, Mary loves dick.
Excellent. So it's a very Lovecraftian setup. We've got the journal, and no one can take this stuff seriously, right? Because it's so out there. Even though Dr. Whitney is a respected scientist, is the chair of chemistry at Bellarmine College. I thought this goes back to our last story we covered, Shaft number 247, the Basil Copper story, which was all about that quest for knowledge for its own sake, because this guy is absolutely obsessed with finding out the truth from a very young age.
Yeah. Not satisfied by sketchy outlines of facts, his craving was for the most complete and detailed information available on every subject that his busy mind encountered. Even at this early age, he was harassed by a restless, driving urge without motive or practical goal to crowd into one mind all the vast aggregation of discovered scientific fact, as well as the limitless secrets still unclosed to research. Yeah. So an obsessive. It's that obsessive, compulsive, monomaniacal, protagonist, isn't it, that we get in a lot of Lovecraftian stories.
Yeah, and also that idea as well of he's a scientist. So although he sort of branches off into chemistry, is looking at physics and biology and botany and everything. And it seems to be this is still probably the last time when, as a scientist, you could do all of that. Where now, I think I read somewhere, no one now can grasp the whole of mathematics because it has become such a huge subject. So now, even if you say I'm a mathematician, then you have to qualify that with I'm a this type of mathematician or whatever.
Well, physics, there's so many different branches
Mm.
of physics, and because you've got your practical, and then you've got your theoretical, and then underneath each one, you've got several different offshoots, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's the same in genres, right? We've spoken
Oh,
about this
yeah.
before, where here everything is fantasy with the PH, or we get into speculative fiction,
Hmm.
and now we're into YA romantasy, sword and sorcery. You know, it's categories of categories of categories like death metal, cult metal, speed metal, slow metal,
Yeah.
dark metal, light metal,
Yeah.
metal, plastic metal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because there was a genre popped up the other day. A book just popped up in my feed. I can't remember what it was now, but I had to look it up. I was like, what does that even mean? Basically, it was like elf rumpy.
Oh,
But there we go.
oh dear, marvelous, marvelous. Dr. Whitney throws himself into scientific research. At the same time, he's obviously lecturing at the college, but he seems to have a lot of time and energy, this guy. Once he reaches the bounds of sort of scientific knowledge, he turns to the occult. Is it the occult or the occult?
Yes, the occult. Yeah.
And you know, as soon as you see that, we're heading for a fall, right? He's gonna start digging where he shouldn't be digging.
Oh yeah, because soon, yeah, because it just says here he spent shuddering, horror-ridden hours perusing the Latin version of the dreaded Necronomicon. So yeah, that's not going to end well, is it?
Nope, nope, certainly not. And we get the Book of Ibon as well, the incredible inferences of the Book of Ibon. This is very Lovecraftian as well, because something else he very rarely did would say, all right, Necronomicon, page 327, it is written. I think maybe once or twice you get that possibly,
Yeah.
but it's always inference, isn't it? Or dreadful hints of awful ghastliness.
Yeah, I think that's something modern authors do more is say on page 273 Abdul al-Hazred writes,
Yeah.
it's more specific where it was very vague, like yeah, but by design. And I think that makes it feel more real to me, the fact that it is so vague.
Because it probably would be, right? Because this is a cult, therefore it's hidden knowledge.
Mhm.
So, although having said that, well, we see later on there's this very straightforward evocation.
Yeah.
So that seems quite plain and straightforward if you can get your lips around the syllables. But yeah, everything seems to be hints and whispers and not step one, find a goat. Step two, you know.
Well, I like the fact that he sort of makes a point of saying, no, that's all nonsense. But we'll get to that when comes to it, because it's all without any of the trappings, isn't it?
Mm. Well, that's another interesting point, I think, in this. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, although he is doing this, I say he still has time to become the chair of chemistry at the college. And we get this nice line here. And so, at the age of 45, Gordon Whitney entered unreservedly upon his great quest for omniscience, in fact. Part of this monomania is there's a certain hubris, isn't there? I'm going to learn and understand absolutely everything.
Oh yeah.
It's classic pride before the fall, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
And we get another nice little hint here. Yeah, after 5 years of intensive research, he had not realized his objective, although he had achieved a number of radical developments in the field of mental stimulants. profound familiarity with cellular structure and characteristics, coupled with a minute knowledge of pertinent drugs and compounds, had given him a great advantage. So this ties in with our Lao, the Hounds of Tindalos, and all these other things, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I like the fact that he's he put his knowledge of chemistry to good use by becoming essentially a proto Timothy Leary. Expand your mind, open the doors of perception.
Yeah, which is, I think, why this stuff hit so well in the 60s as well, when there was that sort of the first Lovecraft boom and weird fiction boom, obviously tied in with the rise of the paperback and everything. But yeah, directly that expand your consciousness.
Yes.
But even this doesn't really get him the results he needs, because he works out, well, it's very temporary and possibly dangerous as well. I can just imagine him on amphetamines. It's like an handful of bombers, purple arts, and he's done a 20-hour read of the Necronomicon from cover to cover, and then that's not going to be good for you on any level, is it?
No, it's not. No.
And this is where we get our first mention of the 19th of the carefully catalogued Eltdown Shards, which has an ambiguous reference to what, freely translated, he believed meant the warder of knowledge. So this sounds like, if you're searching for knowledge, you want to go and speak to this guy, right? Well, I say guy, entity, person, whatever it is.
It's interesting. There's parallels here with, is it Thoth in Egypt, who was the keeper of knowledge?
The keeper of knowledge, yes. The Book of Thoth was.
Book of Thoth. Yeah.
Cody did a tarot deck, I think, didn't he, based on the Book of Thoth.
Yeah.
And it's quite short on characters, this story. Again, it's very Lovecraftian in that sense, but the ones he puts in are very nicely drawn, with a minimum of description, because having hit on this idea of, right, the 19th shard, that's what I need to look at, he sort of takes a few days off. In the morning, he hurried across the undulating campus, drab and grey, and swept by the winds of late autumn, to the small red brick museum, whose ivy-clad walls sat back amongst ancient towering oaks in an obscure corner of the grounds. So a short description, but very vivid, very picturesque.
Yeah, he's the same when he comes to the curator, because he doesn't really describe him how he looks, but his mannerisms, his usual reluctance when opening the cabinet. You can just picture this dusty old creator going, "Are you sure you want to look in here?" It's no digging here, isn't it?
Yeah. And I thought that idea of ancient towering oaks was interesting, because that puts me in mind of like a druidic oaken grove somewhere. This is where the forbidden knowledge is,
Yeah, I like the fact that the museum where they're kept is set back from the rest of campus, almost like it's shunned, and there's the trees occluding it from the sight of the lay people. Only people who know where it is, kind of thing. It's got that sort of air of mystery to it, hasn't it?
That's nice, yeah. And that's something I think that is often missed with the Miskatonic, where you just go in the library and you look at the Necronomicon.
Yeah.
So I can wander into Bedford Library and just, have you got the Necronomicon? Oh, here it is. Yes, it takes away some of the power of it, doesn't it, I think?
Yeah. Well, it's like I'm a bit of a library snob. I'm not a fan of these new modern libraries. I'm just not. I don't like with all the screens and all that. It takes all the mystery out of it, right?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. As a kid, I used to frequent Ilford Library, which is at the back of Ilford Town Hall, which was a big sort of classic Victorian town hall.
Yeah.
With warrens and corridors. And the library rooms, I mean, obviously they had shelves and that, but then there was just lots of tables with books stacked on them.
That's it. Yeah.
And the old library card system, you look through those little cards in the filing cabinets.
Indeed. So have you ever been to the libraries at like Cambridge and Oxford and places like that? Oh, incredible. Like proper old wooden stacks and all that. It's great. Really great stuff.
Unless you've read the tractate Mythos, then it's a bit concerning.
Indeed.
So, yeah, we get this nice description of the shards, as you've already mentioned there, these tablets. Some are fragments, some are cracked and split off. The 19th shard which Whitney presently selected and laid on a scarred oak table, there's that oak again, by the window, presented an odd exception to the others. Its lower edge had been sheared away as cleanly as if by the stroke of a scimitar. I thought that was oddly specific. The stroke of a scimitar. Are we getting shades of Al-Azrad there, do you think?
That's what, yeah, that's kind of what I took from it. Yeah.
And also, as we find out, just jumping ahead a little bit, the bit that is broken off is, so you got the evocation to summon the warder, but the bit that's broken off is the banishment part. And as we all know, do not raise up that which you cannot put down. So why was this bit broken off, do you think?
Yeah. It's an interesting thought, isn't it? Was it done to trap people? I don't know. It depends who did the cutting, I assume.
And we get a very nice description. Again, this is quite specific. So this is something that we don't get in many of the books, as we mentioned, but we do get here. They consisted of intricate, delicately proportioned characters confined within a surrounding margin about an inch wide. A style of delineation followed in all 23 of the shards. Fine symmetrical symbols writhed over the entire space within this border. Examinations had revealed that the writing surface was sunk slightly below the marginal level, a circumstance which, together with the extreme hardness of the material, probably accounted for the specimens being found in as legible a state as they were. So the material they're made of, it seems to be some sort of clay, but this isn't your normal stuff, is it? I'm trying to think archaeologically of what clay tablets have been found in places, and not coming up with much. I think the Dead Sea Scrolls were parchments, weren't they, or whatever, or some sort of scrolls. I'm sure some listeners can educate us as to what clay tablets from antiquity have been found.
I just had a thought as you were saying that. You were saying about the Eltdown being fictitious. I wonder if it's a play on Piltdown.
Oh, of course. Of course. When was Piltdown Man discovered?
I think that was Victorian era, wasn't it? I'm just going to have a look.
I know, because we've got Sutton Hoo would have been not long after this. That was around, that the war was on, wasn't it, when Sutton Hoo was discovered?
Yes.
The burial mounds. This is kind of the one of the golden eras of archaeology, isn't it? This.
Yes, the Piltdown Man, 18th December 1912.
Oh, well, there we go then. That's got to be a reference, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Piltdown, Eltdown, Marlon Brando, Suzanne Dando, isn't it? That is definitely.
Yeah.
You mentioned Triassic earlier, one of our favourite periods. I think Cretaceous is still the favourite. Jurassic is just boring now, right? Everyone knows Jurassic.
That's Hollywood, man.
Yeah. Mainstream. Triassic, we're looking at about 250 million years ago. So hence the scientific interest, outrage, speculation, and probably some amount of incredulity as well. Because obviously this is way, 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 way before any humans appeared on the planet. Well, I suppose in a way they described how humans appeared on the planet.
Well, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if the old unbegotten source appears in there,
And we find out that the shards were discovered 40 years ago by Dalton and Woodford, who sound like a sort of firm of solicitors, don't they? Or a removal company or something.
It does, doesn't it? Oh, shoes, a shoe seller from
Oh yes, that's like bespoke, those sort of posh brogues or something.
Yeah. Probably found in somewhere like Cambridge or Oxford, Yeah. Would be, wouldn't it?
For the chap.
Yes.
And they proclaimed these shards as being untranslatable, but they've not reckoned with Dr. Whitney and his amazing intellect and determination. And he has a go, doesn't he? Translation was made possible only by the suggestive similarity of various symbols to certain primitive Amharic and Arabic word roots whose prototypes they appear to be. So there's that nice idea of what we have now is has its roots way back in pre-human history.
Yeah.
And this is where he gets his real lead on what he believes is the phrase, the warder of knowledge. But there's warnings already. right? Because we get, but further deciphering had proved disquieting. The character of the eon-old entity or principle to which the term was applied was apparently of a most disturbing nature. It would be, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah, yeah. It's with that moment you close the book and put it back on the shelf, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I'm going to take up model railways or
Yeah.
something instead. We get a nice mention of a fountain pen as well. He repressed a shudder as he reviewed the fine script covering several sheets which he had written with his fountain pen. I think Lovecraft probably went, yes, at that point.
Oh yeah. No, Lovecraft probably wrote him a letter saying, "Well, what is it? What type of pen? What type of nib?" It's like later you had the yuppies comparing filofaxes and them big brick mobile phones and stuff. Lovecraft are comparing pens.
Oh, the world of pens. We get mention here of a word that I had to look up. I sort of guessed what it was, but I did look it up anyway, which is cartouche. So a cartouche is basically an oval with a line at one end that you see in Egyptian hieroglyphs. And it usually indicates that the text enclosed is a royal name. So there's an implication there that anything written in a cartouche is something special. And the term cartouche was first applied by French soldiers who fancied that the symbol they saw so frequently repeated on the pharaonic ruins they encountered resembled a muzzle-loading firearms paper powder cartridge, which was known as a cartouche in French.
Mm. Now, you see, I did know what that was. And do you know why I knew what that was? Because I've had to look it up for Clark Ashton Smith.
Right. Oh, I'd forgotten that one.
Yeah, it was. I think it was really early on. I think it was one of the first ones we covered, but it was one I picked, and so I did that research on it. Yeah.
Mind you, to be fair, there's been so many with Mr. Smith, isn't there?
Oh God!
I think last time there was about 10, wasn't there, in the in the Dark Eidolon?
Yeah, no, there was a few. There was a few I didn't do because we'd been there all week.
And this is where he gets to the formula. Near the bottom of the shard was a formula of evocation, which, according to the preceding text, would call the warder to the presence of whomever would recite it. And as we said, the bit underneath has been broken off or cut off with a scimitar for reasons unknown. But it's going to, of course, he's going to do it, isn't he? At this point, he's not thinking, oh, but what if I call this up but can't put it back down? And there is still there's a little hint here about superstition as well. There's a little mention, well, perhaps this is just all sort of old superstition anyway, which I thought was an interesting take, because you've got something here that's 250 million years old that has got writing on it. It's got a very specific set of instructions about how to call up this entity. I don't know, just its existence sort of either goes against the whole idea of superstition, because you've got something concrete in your hands that's surely scientific proof of something other than what we know.
Yeah, well, I wonder if it's that, because I mean, people who are determined to do something are very good at self-deception. So telling themselves, "Oh, it's fine," it'll be fine. Just plug that bomb in over there. It won't go off. It's fine. You're just being paranoid. It's that self-deception. If somebody's really set on doing something, they'll find a way of talking themselves into it.
Yes. Yeah. And I suppose he's come too far to back out now, isn't he, as well?
Yeah.
It is a bit like that. Oh, but what if do you want to spend the rest of your life thinking, oh, but what if I had done that?
Yeah.
Because it's just going to sink into obscurity in this sort of Midwestern college. It's not at Cambridge or Oxford or Harvard or something, is he?
No.
Which, given his apparent intellect, it seems like he's destined for a life of just mundane scholarship, perhaps.
Yeah, that's probably one of the drives behind it, isn't it? It's probably a case of keeping up with the Joneses. He sees these less worthy people having more success, so he's determined to show the world wrong.
And I thought this was nice as well. He was impelled, as he had been years before, to the belief that a genuine understanding of the shards would require a background of culture and tradition profoundly at variance to any he had ever encountered. So it is that idea of You can interpret it in a sense, but to understand it, you have to understand the culture and background that it's from, which is sort of refreshingly non-colonial in a story from this era, isn't it?
Yeah, it sort of ties in with anthropology and things like that, doesn't it? It's and I like the fact that yeah, he doesn't just assume that it's going to be his way of doing things. You know, that is quite refreshing. Yeah.
Mm.
Something else I found refreshing was this, talking about the incantation, the formula, saying the faithfulness with which the evocator was able to reproduce the intended sound waves to which the written formula occupied the relation of a semi-musical score. I like that, but it's not that goes back to what we've seen in quite a few of these tales, that it's not about what's said so much as how it's said.
Yes.
So it's making the right notes, the right ululations at the right points rather than actual words or knowing what they mean.
Yeah, he talks about the vibrations, does it? Well, I instantly thought good vibrations, right? It is that, yeah.
Yes.
Which plays nicely into that. Well, we sort of touched on this earlier. There's no ritual attached to this.
Mm-hmm.
He just basically has to. It's quite a while, I think, isn't it? It's a couple of hours or a whole evening doing this invocation. But yeah, it's not drawing a circle on the floor. It's not lighting censers and burning incense and doing things to goats or rabbits or something. All he has to do is get this invocation right, and that's it. So that is almost more, again, Lovecraftian science and magical science, scientific magic kind of area, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, something else I like is the fact that he's had to practice this. I wouldn't want to be his neighbor. Could you imagine?
Oh, yeah,
You can imagine, right? Yeah, exactly. You're just there about to wolf your dinner down, and somebody starts going through the wall.
I wonder if anyone's written this invocation out. That'd be interesting. Right.
I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go.
Yeah, we'll do that. That'll be the opening at the next ILF. But then if we do call something up, then, mind you, we've got a lot of experienced people there who'll be able to put it back down again.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah.
And I like we get our other little mention here again, because he sort of goes back to his old, his normal books, I can put it like that, just to check. And he recalled the dire and incredible tales of the fabled elder gods in the Book of Ibon, and the frightful allusions in the Necronomicon, dread Cthulhu, the unspeakable practices of the Sosogula cult, and the revolting habits of fiendish Avaloth, of which latter the fifth shard are treated at some length. So it's nice to see Foggy in there, isn't it? It's always nice to see old Toady in there.
It is, yeah. Yeah, he was obviously quite fond of Smith's work because Smith gets quite a lot of mentions with the Book of Ibon and old Toady and all that kind of thing.
Yes, yeah, it's true, yeah.
Which actually makes sense because Clark Ashton Smith actually commented on one of Richard Searight's poems in 1934. I've got a little quote here. A poem of yours, which I saw some time ago in Fantasy Fan, impressed me by its eerie, imaginative touch, and the impression seems to persist with uncommon vividness. So there you go. That's high praise coming from Smith, right?
Yeah, uncommon vividness. Even in his writing a letter, he can pull phrases like that. I mean, like, your poem was right good.
Oh, I know. He can't help himself, can he?
Yeah, so that's nice. Cool, yeah.
Yeah, that was a banger, that was. Yeah.
So yes, it's got the time. It's a wild November night again. I'm not sure if that's relevant in any way at all. We're sort of close on Halloweeny sort of season, maybe. And I like this phrase as well. At times, the incubus of impending disaster weighed so heavily on him that he half resolved to dabble no further in the unholy revelations of the shards. The incubus of impending disaster. That's nice.
It's amazing. Yeah.
He has his dinner, of course, because, you don't want to be stopping for a snack partway through, do you?
You get the munchies halfway through and have to get a Kit Kat.
And he goes into the dining room with a calm and confident stride, and off he goes. I did like this as well, that he Every writer will get this, I'm sure. You sit down to write and you think, oh, I think I'll have some music on there. Let's have a quick look on here. And this. Oh, look, there's a YouTube video on. And an hour later, you know, you're not written a bloody word, but you've decided what song you're going to listen to, and you've adjusted the lighting, and you've plumped your cushions up, and you've gone and made a cup of tea. You know, it feels very much like that here.
Yeah. Well, I like the fact that he lingered over his coffee longer than usual, then lit a second ciggy and returned to the study. So yeah, he's procrastinating at this point, isn't he?
But finally, he can put this moment off no longer. He began the evocation. He did not rise and wave his arms and chant, nor light censers, nor enclose himself in a pentacle. He was attempting to draw to his presence an entity from so far back in the dawn of existence that these questionable appurtenances of later wizardry would have been meaningless to it. He was dealing in the crudely forceful elements of all theurgy, stripped of latter-day trappings and embellishments. So yeah, that idea that this being, this force, is so primordial that anything from our history has no meaning to it at all. We get quite a long description of not what he's saying, because as we mentioned, the words are meaningless anyway, but how he's saying it, the combination of vibrations propelled into the ether.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a sort of anticlimax, isn't it? Because nothing happened. And he does a bit more. He goes on for longer. Nothing happens. He could almost hear his heart thumping wildly in the contrasting silence, and traffic noises from the distant street, mingled with the rushing wind, seemed oddly unreal. After a moment, he thrust the translation into a drawer of the desk and sat down, tense and strained, in the deep leather chair beside the fireplace. They just sort of sits and waits, and nothing happens.
Yeah, I like this reasoning though, because it makes sense. He was prepared to wait. Somehow an instantaneous response would have surprised him. The endless eons which must have passed since those syllables had been pronounced made it seem plausible that a little time, at least a few minutes, might elapse before an answer came, if it came at all. That makes sense, doesn't it? This thing's been asleep for eons.
Well, I don't know if you're like me, but getting me up in the morning requires, you know, a bugle call, several alarm clocks, getting kicked out the bed, and you know.
Yeah. I need a block and tackle to get my arse out of bed most mornings.
So that's where he goes after sitting around for a little longer. It feels like something is possibly going to happen. He still has this vague dread that rested heavily on his heart. But you know, it's been a long day. He writes all this up in his journal. Then he goes to bed, tired and uneasy, with a growing sense of nameless menace weighing on his spirits. And I thought this was interesting how now, well, here we go. Reliable narrator, unreliable narrator, real or dream. We're firmly in that territory again.
Yeah, and obviously, I think having the psychic who's got the impressions, that's how you can have this, because obviously he's just finished writing. So that's his notes done. This is all going to be the psychic impressions of what this mystic dude, this, well, whatever he was, a psychologist or something like that, parapsychologist, I guess you call them now.
Turkov, yeah.
Yeah, Turkov. So I'm assuming, so yeah, we might have an unreliable narrator narrating the narration of an unreliable narrator.
Oh, nicely done, sir. Yeah, I hadn't picked up on that at all. But yes, of course. Yeah. And we mentioned Mr. Smith earlier. I think this is a Smithian bit as well, because we're in a very Smithian alien landscape with exotic, overgrown plant life and strange, furtive rustlings and little pathways and sibilant whispers. It does feel very Smithian, this landscape.
It does, yeah. Even some of the descriptions from all about came sibilant whispers alternating with uncouth, deep-toned gutturals, and occasionally he heard the rustling of unseen bodies through the fern-like stalks. But they were always out of sight in the dense profusion of vegetation, and he steered a tortuous course, trying to avoid them. So, yeah, you do get that sort of Smith influence. But again, he's another poet, isn't he?
Yes.
So he comes from a very similar starting point. It'd be interesting if we knew, if anybody knows any more about Mr. Searight. Was he into the same stuff, like, your Baudelaire and your Sterling and all that? Does he come from that end of it as well? Because I can see a direct influence, a shared influence with Clark Ashton Smith.
Yeah, and even the mention of the drugs and the mind expanding and all that kind of stuff as well ties in with that, doesn't it?
It does.
The road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom.
Mm.
And this is very dreamlike now because we're getting the chase. Something's chasing him. He can't see it, but he has a sense of a gigantic stalking thing. It's a nightmare, isn't it?
Yes.
And again, this is very evocative, I think, because he plunged on, panting and ploughing his way through the mocking barrier with labouring effort. Then suddenly he had broken away from the primeval forest upon a broad, bare, undulating plain, stretching away to a hazy horizon, without a possibility of hiding places. So again, very nightmarish.
Yes.
And then he sees the thing behind him. Well, it's a shrouded visage. It's just a huge figure. Nothing's particularly described about it at first. And as he turns to flee in the dream, this is where we get our long snake-like tentacle that encircles his waists and jerks him to a halt. You ever been jerked by a tentacle?
Don't kiss and tell, darling.
Marvelous. And I start again in this next section because we go into the unfolding of time and space and everything else. Now I'm getting House on the Borderlands.
Oh yes, same. Same. Yeah, I instantly thought of that.
And I thought actually here we go from Smith to Hodgson. Then we get into Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard as well, because we go through the cycles of human history, which is all the Howard stuff, Atlantis and Mu and Lemuria and all that stuff. But of course, we go back before that with the old ones and Amigo and the Shoggoths, the whole at the Mountains of Madness kind of scene, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's like we actually get a mention of barbarians as well, which I thought had to be a direct nod to Two Gun Bob. It had to be. No, but something I just want to mention here because I love this description of the tentacle before we move on. The tentacle was grey and rugose and semi-scaled, and its grip was like a loop of tensile steel about his middle. See, again, yeah, that's very Lovecraftian, isn't it? Rugose.
Yes. Rugose, yes, especially. Yes, yes. And he's lifted up to face this thing. Whitney turned in the loose grasp and gazed up at the figure looming shadowy and monstrous high above his head. Its face was exposed now, and he saw a great broad impassive visage vaguely suggestive of human mould, but with shocking and blasphemous differences. Cold, impersonal eyes met his own, long, narrow green orbs in which pity or hate or any human emotion seemed impossible. So this is kind of, I don't know, I was putting in mind like sort of Greek myths as well, like Zeus or something like that as well, Titans or your Asgardian gods, Odin or something.
Yeah, or even your Nephilim.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Fields of.
Yes, indeed.
And then we get the whole psychedelic trip where he he sees giant gaseous globes flaming endlessly through boundless reaches of space, and after untold millions of years, beheld a stupendous explosion which scattered blazing gas across the universe. This is the Big Bang, basically, he's gone back to here. And
I thought this has to be a nod to Edgar Allan, like a dream within a dream. That has to be a nod to Mr. Poe, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe it starts with the Poe, then goes into the Lovecraft.
Oh, because then it goes into the Bob Howard.
And we get basically the history of the old ones, which will be familiar to Mr. Lovecraft's fans, of course. And we get something of a mythos roundup here, don't we? He viewed the flight from other worlds of the Migo, the spawn of Cthulhu and their building of the terrible stone city Aurelie, and the terrific struggle waged between them and the old ones for supremacy. He shuddered at their unspeakable slaves, the Shoggoths, the existence of which on this earth was so fervently denied in the Necronomicon, There's a nice little touch there. Fervently denied in the necro. No, no, Shoggoths, no, no, no. Too much even for old Abdoi. No, 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 no.
No Shoggoths here.
Yes.
But I like that because again, he's putting his own kind of spin on it. You know, that's his interpretation of the mythos and all the rest of it. It sort of lies somewhere, from what I've gleaned reading his other stories, his interpretation of it lies somewhere between Lovecraft and Derleth. It's almost in the middle.
Yeah. Because I could say that I don't think it's fair to call this a shopping list, this one.
No,
In the way we get the Derlethian shopping list. It's more a reference to, isn't it?
Yes.
It feels in keeping. It's not like I went into his library. Oh, there was a Necronomicon,
Yeah.
De Vermis Mysterious, Book of Ibon, Unau Spectrum and Colton, and then there's nothing else attached to that. It's just the names. Here he's researching those as a way to get into the shards.
Yeah. To use a musical analogy, it's like a remix, is how you see it, because it's all the bits, but they're in slightly different places.
Yeah. So we get that whole sort of mythos history or prehistory. We get Atlantis, Mu, and Lemuria, and scores of others, of which no faintest memory has descended to the modern world. Very Howardian. And then we get the Grecian heroes of the Golden Age. We get Rome, Egypt, Assyria, Babylonia, all the way up to our own age. And I thought this was interesting in a way, in that the deeds of the Grecian heroes of the Golden Age, etc., get kind of pretty much equal billing with everything else. Yet, in chronological terms, that's like a second, isn't it? The old ones were around for, I don't know, top of your head, 10 million years or something.
Yeah.
Greece was around for, it's like nothing. But he gives them, I suppose that's coming from his perspective of our culture and the importance we attach to that. Whereas the reality is, in cosmic terms, it's the blink of an eye.
But now, eventually, he actually gets what he came for, doesn't he? Because, then, leisurely, inexorably, he passed on into time, thrilling to behold, one after another, the solution of the great problems towards which science had been turning. One by one, he beheld the secrets of the universe captured and harnessed, and their fundamental simplicity made clear. Through endless eons to an aged world, rolling cold and desert-like beneath a dying sun, to the ultimate black frigidity of interstellar space and final annihilation, he followed. I love that passage. That's really nicely written.
That's very cool, isn't it? Yeah, that's the end that awaits everything.
Mm-hmm. We're back to the Conqueror worm again, aren't we?
Well, even the worm goes in this one, right?
Yeah, it's true.
This is total annihilation.
Yeah.
In the last darkness, enveloped in the cosmic cold, his senses reeled and the whirling nausea again engulfed him. He opened his eyes to find himself suspended high in the air by the great tentacle still wrapped around his waist, and his gaze opened full on the cold, inhuman stare of the green eyes. There was something magnetic yet revolting, something utterly alien yet supremely fascinating in those long green eyes. He could not swerve his head nor wrench his gaze away from that effortlessly hypnotic stare. And this is where he sort of thinks, what comes into his mind is, yeah, that spell of exorcism, yeah, might have been handy.
Might have been useful. Yeah.
Oh, well. So he feels himself pulled in. It felt to me like he gets merged with the warder. He gets drawn in and just becomes a part of it, where his intellect and ego would be absorbed and become one with their host.
Yeah, I love this little description here. The eyes seemed growing, great lakes of mystic green, shot with tiny dancing sparks. He's been engulfed, isn't he, in this gaze? It's a tremendously vivid story, because it's quite, I think you could call it quite a low-key story in terms of it doesn't really leave one, it's all in one room except the dream sequence and all this, but it's incredibly visual the way it's written.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a bloke goes into a room and reads out some words.
Yeah,
the end is basically it, isn't it? But yeah, a lot of very nice description within that. And again, this is the weird tale thing, the concepts that then brings up. you know, leads us to all sorts of speculations.
Mm.
And I like this. This is very cinematic as well. So that's the scene fades to black, right, or green perhaps, and then we get a new scene. The sun shone and a crisp wind blew bracingly over a new washed world the next morning when Gordon Whitney's housekeeper found the professor's bedroom door locked and the inmate unresponsive to her knocks. So they basically break in. Whitney was quite dead. Although an autopsy failed to establish any cause, he would have seemed asleep had it not been for that shocking expression of horrified despair, which, as Professor Turkov privately observed afterwards, harmonized so strangely with the realization of a life's dream. Mm.
The moral of the story: be careful what you wish for.
Yes, and
Yeah.
once again, the pursuit of knowledge leads to dire consequences.
Yes.
Curiosity killed the chemist. That's a
Oh,
Lovecraftian tribute band to
I was gonna
Curiosity
say,
Killed the Cat.
oh God. Oh God, Curiosity Killed a Cat. They were dreadful. Sorry. They were terrible.
So yeah, I like that what you said. We've got unreliable narrator saying, I think what this unreliable narrator was saying was he witnessed the heat death of the universe and now he's merged with the water. That's what happened. And everyone else is saying, oh, perhaps he just had a heart attack. Or, you know.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? That basically, yeah. Yeah, the water of knowledge is essentially showed him entropy in action. Bleak. Nice.
Yeah. Which I suppose, if you think about it, is the ultimate truth.
Mhm.
We know that scientifically now, or as far as I know, speaking as someone whose knowledge of science means that I'm boil eggs, and
Yeah.
that's about it. Yeah, the universe at one time is going to be a cold. The sun's going to be a cold cinder, and everything's going to be gone. Does it then recycle around to another big bang and all that? I suppose that's then the speculation, isn't it? But
Yeah.
is that what the water does? Does he press the start button every time?
Well, there you go. Yeah.
So yeah, and I think we had a bit of everything in that one, pretty much. We got the ultimate futility of everything. We got lots of nice book mentions, a little bit of a cultish kind of knowledge, and a driven, obsessed scholar. That ticks all the Lovecraftian boxes, doesn't it?
Oh, it certainly does. Yeah. Certainly does. Yeah, I definitely recommend to readers checking out more of Mr. Searight's work. And his son's stuff is equally good. Yeah, it's a shame that not as widely known.
Yeah, it's quite surprising, but I suppose if that story wasn't published, but then other stories of his were published in Weird Tales. So
Yeah, like the Seal Casket was and things like that. And that has the Eltdown Shards in it. So
yeah, and I was familiar with the Eltdown Shards, but not the author. So
mm.
that might have been through Call of Cthulhu RPG, possibly.
Oh, possibly.
Or
Yeah.
maybe obviously where Lovecraft's mentioned it, maybe I picked it up through that. But
Yeah, because I know it's mentioned in Shadow Out of Time along with the narcotic manuscripts and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's the first time I heard of the Eltdown Shards.
yeah, those naughty Eltdown Shards.
Those naughty Eltdown Shards. You've got that in my head now. We'll have to do a music hall version of it, won't we?
It's George Formby.
Yeah. Oh,
Naughty Eltdown Shards when I'm cleaning windows.
I think I've got a battered ukulele in the cupboard somewhere. I'll have to dig it out and have a probably needs a new set of strings, but I'll have a look.
We look forward. That's something else you'll be able to see at the ILF, no doubt. Tim's debut on ukulele.
God.
Accompanied by myself on the sousaphone.
Yes. Oh, wonderful. Sousaphone.
Or maybe a theremin. That would be cool.
Chaps in tweed. That's what we'll be known as.
Yes. Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah, definitely.
So there we go, folks. Is that a story you're familiar with? Is that an author you're familiar with? Where would you position that in Mythos Tales? I think that's a solid one. I think I can see where this leads to Derleth in a sense.
Oh yeah.
And this to me is like a going that way. I think, like you said before, it's somewhere between Lovecraft and Derleth, with those really nice nods to Smith and Howard and everything as well.
Yeah, it's pastiche in the best possible way, I think is how I would describe it. It is a pastiche, it's a Lovecraftian pastiche, but there's something more to it than just a straight rehashing of everything we know or we've read before. He's definitely put his own spin on it, which is basically what I do, what you do. Well, you know.
And nice to see, as always, that HPL picks up on that and uses it the same as he did with Sartogua and etc. etc. And Bob Howard's using the Book of Ibon and mentions Dagon and all the rest of it. So yeah, incredibly productive, I think, and creative, that circle of writers.
Yeah. We have another nice little quote from Lovecraft from a letter to Richard Searight dated the 25th of September 33, speaking about one of his other stories. So he thought quite highly of his work. I have read The Haunted Relay with much interest and certainly think it has the touch of originality that fiction needs. The atmosphere of suspense and uncertainty is very well sustained, and the actual growth of madness is wholly a surprise despite the ample preparation.
Nice. Nice.
Again, high praise indeed. You know.
Well, that idea of preparation, that's something that's quite prominent in Lovecraft, is it? There's very little that comes of a surprise at the end, because he signposts everything so much, and yet it's still a shock somehow.
Well, it is that inevitability of death is just how grim and grisly it's going to be when it happens, especially if you're reading Clark Ashton Smith, you know.
So, yeah, do let us know what you think, dear listener, through the usual channels. Don't write it on a clay tablet and leave it around for 250 million years, because I doubt if we'll see that. I mean, I'm bad enough with emails, you know, let alone clay tablets. But we have had some missives in, mostly talking about our last episode where we covered Shaft number 247 by Basil Copper. On Patreon, JB Lee writes, I first read it in New Tales of the Cthulhu Mythos. It's a great tale, finding the Lovecraftian while jettisoning the mythos paraphernalia. My first Copper tale, though, was Camera Obscura in Alfred Hitchcock's Stories That Scared Even Me. And boy, did Night Gallery do it justice. Wonderful episode. And maybe I can post a link to an illustration that I did to his story Amber Print, which has nothing to do with Cthulhuid stuff, but is certainly a fine horror tale. And we've got a link there to JB Lee's DeviantArt page, which we'll put in the show notes below. Thank you, JB.
Oh, wonderful stuff. Yeah, I've not got around to watching the Camera Obscura adaptation yet. I might have to rectify that. I mean, I'm off away on a mini tour, but when I get back, I'm going to watch that. I'm going to do it.
Yes, me too. Perhaps we'll look at that for an episode at some point then.
Oh, maybe we could double up and do a couple. We could do which is the block one? Is it the Weird Tailor?
The Weird Tailor, I think. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll pencil that.
Because they're sort of half-an-hour episodes, aren't they? We can do a couple of Night Gallery episodes.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. Right, yeah. Next in, we have from Ralph Grasso, friend of the show and longtime correspondent. Greetings, old chap. I, for one, read this story in an Arkham House Cthulhu Mythos collection. After reading, I wondered what it had to do with the mythos. Laugh out loud. The Great White Space, on the other hand, was a good pastiche of Lovecraft/Poe. Yeah, I agree. I'm a big fan of the Great White Space.
And our old friend Niels writes in, thank you for introducing me to Basil Copper. I'd never heard of him before. I'll definitely keep an eye out for his books. Any time a work has overly bureaucratic overtones, I'm reminded of Stanislav Lem's memoir, Found in a Bathtub. Definitely not a weird tale, but an excellent critique of government inefficiencies. I'd recommend giving it a read. Speaking of Daleks, which I think we mentioned.
Yes,
of course we did. Yeah,
probably me.
Speaking of Daleks, the sci-fi Nazis, I remember also in the Dalek invasion of Earth, they rolled through Trafalgar Square, I think it was, with their toilet plungers in the air. The commentary I listened to about that did say the Daleks intentionally did that to make the Nazi illusion. The director who told them to do that or if the Dalek operators did it themselves. I like to think it was the the extras inside who said, "Wouldn't it be a good idea if we elevated our toilet plungers?"
No, it was the director.
Oh, it was it? Ah, fair enough.
It was. It was the yeah. It was the director because there's a great shot by Nelson's column, and it's shot from the ground up, and you've got them giving it the whole salute with the plungers. It's incredible because obviously black and white. So you got the grey, the sky behind it, and just the silhouettes of these Daleks giving the old Sieg Heil, and yeah, it's incredibly effective photography. It's great.
Nice. And Niels concludes, here's one for Tim's naughty gnarly night at the ILF. I can't remember if I shared it with you before. It's based on Clark Ashton Smith's The Dead Will Cuckold You play. There once was a king cuckolded. His queen had a lover all moulded. She wore a frown when a zombie went down, 'cause his tongue was all freezing colded.
Lovely stuff.
And if that isn't enough, Niels finishes with, and finally, as you signed off, Tim took offence to you calling him homogeneous balls. I'm not sure if that was that the phrase. I can't remember.
Homogeneous ball.
Oh, all right, homogeneous ball. Obviously, that's not correct, since homogeneous balls was the Renaissance artist who specialised in mediocre softcore erotica. I stand corrected. Niels. Thank you very much for those.
Oh, bravo, sir. Brilliant.
Very good.
Love it. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, we're going to finish up. We're zooming back an episode to the episode where we had Heather Miller on for a chat. This is from Patreon from Stephen Wall. Living in Newfoundland for 18 years as an outsider has led to some intense feelings for myself and locals on the sense of place spectrum. TV is one thing, as it often has wide audience, but I find running tabletop RPGs trickier. I think that's because audiences, i.e. players, can be entirely made up of locals or contain a single local who upends the vibes and lived experience. Also, I really dig Heather Miller's notion of the Lovecraftian gaze. It's all coming full circle for me. My Abdul Al-Hazred is Michel Foucault. I see now I was doomed from the moment I could first perceive. Thank you for that, Stephen. That's great.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, that's I mean, for writers, it's the thing as well, isn't it? We've said it before. You can tell if a person hasn't been to London or Manchester or whatever. Not always, but quite often. Whereas you get someone like Alan Moore who writes about Northampton, and you think, that's Northampton or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're back to the whole Ramsey Campbell Arkham thing again, aren't we? And Derleth saying, well, go and write about somewhere you know.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is so evident in the Dayloth trilogy.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
it just steeps in the locale, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, thanks very much for all those messages. You can get in touch with us via our YouTube channel, on the Innsmouth forum, on Facebook, by email at innsmouthbookclub@outlook.com, or of course on our Patreon page. And while you're on our Patreon page, take a look at subscribing and supporting the show. And a big Innsmouth welcome to our latest patrons to sign up: Heather Miller, Carter Torvald, and Wojciech Kobza. Thanks very much, folks. Of course, as a patron of the show, you get access to bonus content for the Innsmouth Book Club and Strange Shadows. You get a quarterly copy of Innsmouth News, which I think might be out next week, the spring edition. We've got some interesting articles in there and some other bits and pieces, and free entry to the Innsmouth Literary Festival, of course. Speaking of bonus content...
Yes, we're going to do a Patreon exclusive next time, aren't we? I'm not sure we've decided exactly what we're doing yet, but it might include readings or something or other.
Yeah. I thought, we're gonna try our hand at some readings. I think I'm not sure what we'll be reading yet. This is going to be possibly the start of a new little mini series, maybe some poetry or some stories as well. So this is partly due to me deciding I'm going to be putting out some audio books of my works probably starting with my Wolf Who Would Be King Sword and Sorcery series, but then looking at some of my short stories as well. I thought it's time to cast them out into the ether and see what effects the vibrations have.
Nice. Nice.
So thanks again for joining us, folks. We'll see you next time. In the meantime, it's goodbye from me, Rob Poynton.
And it's goodbye from me, Tim Mendes.